All right, audience questions. I'm finding that I'm getting better at picking some of these lately. I'm having a better sense of what is the audience actually interested in. We had a lot of duds early on. Okay, the question, of my fault, of course, not anybody else's. Poor selection. The first question today: could Trump voters be convinced to vote for someone like Bernie or Warren if Bernie or Warren were the nominees? There's always like two, if not three answers to these "is it possible" question. The first is, of course it's possible. Some Democrats voted for Trump. So, in a sort of general abstract sense, yes, there are Trump voters who would be convincible to vote for Bernie or Warren. And many of them would just do it without needing to be convinced merely because they're not pleased with Donald Trump, some fraction of them. Now, what is the real philosophy that would be the most cleanly transitional one from being a Trump voter in 2016 to a Bernie or Warren voter in 2020? I think that it is populism. Now, it's really important. I have no confusion that the populistic rhetoric of Donald Trump is, number one, bogus, but number two, it's a right wing rhetoric. It's a more nationalist rhetoric, nationalist populist rhetoric. It is not at all the same thing as the left progressive rhetoric, certainly of Bernie Sanders and to some degree of Elizabeth Warren. But the messaging, at least at the superficial level, can seem quite similar between Trump's faux right populism and Bernie and Warren's actual left populism. So there is no doubt that if you were attracted to Trump in 2016 on the basis of his populistic-ish, I mean, it's such a, I'm hedging, it's not populist, it's populistic-ish sort of rhetoric, then there is actually a sort of credible path to get over to somebody like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And in fact, anecdotally, we heard about Bernie primary supporters who ended up voting for Trump, which I was a Bernie primary supporter in 16. I think it would have been absolutely whacked to support Trump. And here we are, Trump having two Supreme Court picks and almost going to war with like three countries, which Hillary simply would not have done. Not that I was a Hillary lover by any means. The problem with like a big picture move from Trump voters to Bernie or Warren on policy and philosophy, rather than merely on they're displeased with Trump and maybe they'll vote for the alternative, is that there is no real coalition within the American right that fits into the Bernie Warren thing. The right populist rhetoric of 2016 may work to get some people just by sort of a numbers game to support Bernie or Warren. But it's not like the evangelical right that ultimately went for Trump, even though early they liked Cruz and whoever else. That's not a coalition that's going to get behind Bernie or Warren, even though I would make the argument that Bernie and Warren's policy is much more in line with what evangelical Christianity at least claims to stand for, if not actually stands for. The pro-gun coalition that ultimately got behind Trump because he said some stuff about liking guns or whatever, they're not going to get behind Bernie or Warren. So I think that's the issue. And then the most important thing to point out is I don't think it's good strategy to try to win 2020 by convincing Trump voters from 2016 to vote for Bernie or Warren or whoever the Democratic nominee is. We saw earlier this week that Emma Vigeland clip from earlier this week where Emma interviewed just maybe the dumbest Trump supporter we've ever seen, who said she wouldn't vote for Joe Biden because of something related to white/black, referring to race, and Biden's a socialist because he's all about the money and is a billionaire. None of that's true, but this is what the woman said. It was made abundantly clear that what I've been saying for a year or more at this point is right. As a strategy for winning elections, don't try to convince Trumpists to vote for someone else. Just get the half of the people on the left who didn't vote last time to vote. You don't have to convince them of anything other than just to go out and vote. That's much easier than completely upending the beliefs, as harebrained and fact-free as they may be, of a lot of these Trumpists. Today's program is sponsored in part by Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you've not already heard about Blinkist, it's amazing. It's an app for your phone, tablet, or web browser. And what they do is they take nonfiction books, popular nonfiction, critically acclaimed nonfiction. They condense the book into a 15-minute audiobook. You get all the most important information and insights from each book, but you can soak up the entire essence of the book in one sitting. I've listened to a ton of books on Blinkist. One recent one is Robert Reich's new book, The Common Good. Also Bunk by Kevin Young, useful in preparing me for the pseudoscience mini-series that we're producing. And if you are a David Pakman Show viewer or listener, you can get a 7-day free trial by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you're watching on YouTube, use the link in the video description. After the free trial, if you like it, you can get the full access to thousands of condensed audiobooks for about $5 a month. That's BLINKIST.com/PAKMAN.